if we could confirm that we notified the media.
Yes.
Okay. I do declare that we have a quorum with all of our board members present. Now we'll need approval of our agenda.
I make a motion that the minutes are approved.
I'll second.
Thank you. And Ms. Nance? We're approving the agenda. Did you say minutes?
Agenda.
Agenda. Thank you, sorry. And we have a second. Is there any question about the agenda? All those in favor of approving the agenda, please raise your hand. That's unanimous. Thank you. I do want to welcome everyone here tonight, and I want to thank Lawrence Elementary, the staff, the principal, for having us attend your school tonight so we can have our meeting here. And now we will have our Pledge of Allegiance, and it will be led by two students from Lawrence Elementary, Emmy Hendrick and Mackenzie Thomas.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated for a moment of silence. Thank you.
Thank you, young ladies, and thank you, Mr. Littlejohn. Now we'll have our prayer with Mr. Jenkins.
If y'all pray with me, please. Our gracious Heavenly Father, we're thankful for the opportunity for us to gather here in this place to do the business of Lawrence, District 55. I'm thankful for the parents and the children that have come to share in tonight's meeting. I'm thankful for the hard work and preparation of the staff here at Lawrence Elementary, as well as the many individuals that have spent many hours to prepare for tonight's meeting, and for the board member and our superintendent. So Lord, we ask your blessings on this evening, and may all our actions and all our deeds find favor in your sight. In your Son's name I pray. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Jenkins. Now we do need to approve our minutes from the October 23rd meeting. If we could get a motion.
I'll motion that we approve the minutes from last board meeting.
I'll second.
Thank you. Thank you for the second. All those in favor, or excuse me, any questions about the minutes or discussion? All those in favor of approving the minutes for the October 23rd board meeting, please raise your hand. I apologize, did y'all? Okay. All those not in favor of approving the minutes? The motion passes. Now I'll turn it over to Mr. Littlejohn for a choral performance. And these are the 3rd and 4th grade students of Lower Montessori. Well done. Appreciate it so much. Now we'll have our school report from Lawrence Elementary from Dr. Littlejohn, and you just start whenever you're ready.
While you guys are patiently waiting, let's give these ladies and gentlemen another round of applause because they did an outstanding job. To the parents of the children and also to Mr. Hinton, thank you all for spending your evening with us and blessing our ears with the music. So again, thank you. So I'm going to briefly talk about some things that are taking place at Lawrence Elementary School. This year's theme is cultivating success through camaraderie, collaboration, and connectedness. I'm not going to read it verbatim, but this year, as a leadership team, we intentionally decided that we're going to focus on teacher leadership. So this year's theme gives us an opportunity to capitalize on teacher leadership. So again, I'll read the last sentence. Building a culture of teacher leadership and collegiality will strengthen the Lawrence Elementary School community and allow teachers to flourish and increase student achievement. So again, as a leadership team, we intentionally and deliberately are focusing on teacher leadership this year. School safety, we've done several things this year to intentionally focus on school safety. I asked Officer Ted Richardson, our SRO, to conduct a safety meeting to review the school-wide safety procedures. He did that at the beginning of the school year, and I'm very appreciative that he did that. He also conducts daily safety inspections and periodically meets with the administrative team to discuss school safety and security. On Tuesday, November 14th, 4th and 5th grade students were trained on the Say Something Anonymous reporting system. Naturally, we conduct the required monthly emergency drills. In regards to instructional strategies, as an ILT, an instructional leadership team, we intentionally conduct learning walks to inspect what we expect. We also work collaboratively with NIET's LoRa 2 to work on a recurring series of collective inquiry and action research that translate into actionable classroom strategies. Teachers also continuously engage in collaborative coaching cycles with Merica Dyer, our instructional coach. And we utilize 3 academic interventionists, Ms. Downs, Ms. Coggins, and Ms. Gregory, to individualize instruction and assess specific skills for targeted students. Naturally, the teachers regularly meet in professional learning communities to set common goals for student learning, identify instructional best practices, analyze student work and data to look for opportunities to improve teaching and learning, as well as offering each other feedback. Melissa Galt, she's the director of the 21st Century After School Tutoring Program, where targeted students receive supplemental instruction to increase their academic achievement. Rona Neely, our guidance counselor, she deliberately focuses on solution-oriented strategies that support student academic needs and their overall development. And I'm very grateful for everyone that takes a part in the whole child development. School report card rating. The 2022-2023 school report card rating for Lawrence Elementary School was unsatisfactory. Based on specific performance indicators, we received a numerical rating of 32. And I'll take a moment of personal privilege to state and reiterate that those ladies in the back, they don't get enough credit for what they do. They definitely deserve a round of applause because I firmly believe, and we can clap for these ladies. I firmly believe that the unsatisfactory rating does not define the faculty and staff at Lawrence Elementary School because day in and day out, they do the best that they can to do what needs to be done for our students. So regardless of the unsatisfactory rating, ladies, you guys know that I always support you guys, and kudos to you all for what you do on a daily basis. We hold ourselves accountable for the results and are fundamentally committed to improving that rating. We're working on a school turnaround plan for substantial improvement. Several things have been done in regards to the school turnaround plan. I'm very grateful that Jenna Curry, my assistant principal, anytime that I ask her to lead a task, she never shies away from it because I believe in firm training for leadership. So I asked her to lead the root cause analysis meeting, which was held on November 9th. It was a spirited meeting, and we got a lot of feedback, and we focused on three primary goals, or three primary areas of focus for the plan. We talked about data, we talked about the culture, and we talked about what we can do to do more intervention. We also, we had a public meeting on November 14th, which is not mentioned on there, where we invited the parents to come in to discuss the school's report card rating, as well as talk about what we're going to do collectively, because this isn't just Lawrence Elementary School's staff working to make things better for the students, but we believe it's a community effort. And so I'm very grateful for the parents that did come to this meeting to talk about what could be done for sustained improvement. The plan was drafted and made available on Friday, November 17th. It was put on the district's turnaround page, and we asked for substantial feedback from the community. We asked from teachers, and so we got a lot of worthy feedback that we're going to talk about in depth tomorrow as a faculty to what we can do to turn that unsatisfactory rating around. When we talk about academic achievement, there's a couple of areas that I want us to focus on. The SC Ready ELA test results. From 2022 to 2023, as you can see, there was increased improvement in ELA. We went from 34% to 39%. So again, that unsatisfactory rating, it doesn't really exemplify what we're currently doing at the school level. From 2022 to 2023, there was a slight dip in math from 36% to 34%. But needless to say, we're actively working on plans to improve that rating as well. Next steps, maintaining optimism. And as I told the teachers before, with the unsatisfactory rating, the only place we can go is up. And I'm an optimist, and I believe that we're going to go up. We realize the road ahead is filled with challenges and uncertainty, but we're resolved to meet the challenge and maintain a sense of optimism and resilience. We have unwaveringly high expectations and will continue to engage in collaborative efforts to thoroughly address areas of improvement. We work in an extremely positive and collaborative school community, and I cannot echo that enough. We not only share these high expectations, but will assist in increasing student achievement. Naturally, our top priority is our students' overall success through the mission, which is to create a community of learners who are responsible and productive citizens. At this time, I'll entertain any questions, comments, and concerns from the board. Hearing none, on behalf of the faculty and staff of Lawrence Elementary School, Madam Chairman, board members, Dr. Thomas, and general community, thank you all for allowing Lawrence Elementary School to host this opportunity, and we hope everyone has a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Littlejohn. And Dr. Thomas, I'll turn it over to you for the superintendent's report.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, other members of the board, those in attendance, and those viewing online. Thanksgiving is a time of caring and sharing. It is also a time of gratitude, reflection, and celebration. I hope everyone experienced all of this and more and had a wonderful Thanksgiving break. Thank you to Dr. Littlejohn, Mr. Hinton, and Ms. Curry for hosting tonight, and Mr. Hinton for the chorus performance. Let's give our students another round of applause for their outstanding performance. Also at this time, if the teachers and staff from Lawrence Elementary, if you all would please stand. Thank you all so much for being here this evening, and thank you so much for all that you do. At this time, I would like to ask Mr. Lawless to come forward to discuss tax equalization.
Good evening. All right, tonight I just wanted to kind of give the board a brief overview of the equalization of Lawrence County taxes. I know that when I sat in one of those seats many years ago that I had an idea that we had an arrangement for allocating local tax dollars, but honestly I can't say that I had taken the time to really understand it, how it was calculated, and why it works so well for all of our students in our combined attendance area with Lawrence 56. This one? Yeah, no, I don't usually do PowerPoints. There's a good reason for that. You got it? Okay. So the original purpose of the legislation was to create a uniform millage rate for school operations. I'm sure you're aware that this board is not able to pass a tax increase for school operations without District 56's board also doing the exact same thing. So that was the legislation that created that combining of that arrangement was created in the same legislation that did the tax equalization for property taxes. The original purpose also was to allocate the local tax dollars equitably on a per pupil basis. So, like I said, this legislation goes back to 1983. So for the last 40 years, if you imagine at that time, our communities were more like competitors than they were neighbors. You know, I think we've come a long way in that regard. There was competition when it came toward economic development. The communities didn't really work well together. The Lawrence County Development Corporation didn't even exist. Each community had their own chambers of commerce, their own hospitals. And this legislation was one of the first initiatives toward unifying our two communities, and it allowed everyone to work toward a shared prosperity throughout Lawrence County. So after this law was put into effect, our county leaders could then take advantage of all their available resources to bring economic development to Lawrence County, and they didn't have to consider how it affected the two primary school systems in the county. It didn't matter whether a business was set up in Joanna or Gray Court or Cross Hill or Hickory Tavern. Those tax dollars that were derived from that business would follow the Lawrence County students wherever they attended school. We believe that the system that was implemented 40 years ago was ahead of its time. It created the most equitable arrangement possible for allocating taxes for school operations. Each district would receive funding on a per pupil basis. Regardless of where the property was located, the dollars were shared equally among the students that attended Lawrence County schools. The funding would go where it was needed the most because it followed the children. In South Carolina, the largest portion of our education dollars that come from the state funding model and the state aid to classrooms is allocated essentially on a per pupil basis. Now here's how our system has traditionally worked, and these are not actual numbers. It's just kind of an example to kind of walk through it in a rounded figure kind of way. But if you could imagine that if you took all the taxes that were collected in both school districts and you placed them into a common pot, the first thing that would come out of that pot is the amount of local required support that is needed to make the state's funding model whole. On average, across the state provides 75% of the funding under the state aid to classrooms, and the other 25% is expected to come in the form of local tax dollars. Because Lawrence County is not one of the wealthier counties in South Carolina, our ratio is more like an 85-15 split, with the state providing a much larger portion than the local tax dollars. But the state, as part of their funding calculation, they provide this amount of local required support. So that's the first slice of the pie that each district receives. Everything else is then allocated evenly per weighted pupil unit. That gives you the amount of taxes that a district is entitled to under equalization. And that amount is added to the amount that they receive because of the local required support. and that gives each district their entire allocation of locally derived tax dollars, essentially even per pupil, slightly nuanced by that local required support. And the difference between that total allocation and the amount that a district has received during the year gives you the much maligned equalization payment that is due from one district to another. And no one likes writing that check. And I know that we didn't like it in the past when we had to send money over to Lawrence 56, and they don't like sending it our way now. Some of that old competition dies hard. So while we support the arrangement that has worked to benefit Lawrence County students for 40 years, we agree with our neighbors at Lawrence 56 that the legislation is due for an update. For one thing, the legislation refers to the Education Finance Act, or the EFA, and that was the name of the state's old funding model. The other big issue is that the legislation only refers to property taxes, and if you can imagine, in 1983, that was likely the only funding mechanism for local taxes at that point. Now we have fee in lieu of tax arrangements. We have money that we receive through the state that is an offset to the caps that are placed on property taxes for homestead exemptions and things like that. And then the other thing is that there's a description of the geographical bounds of our combined surface area, and it was drafted in a time that was pre-E911, so you got a lot of road names and things that are numbers as opposed to street names, and there's some cases where it actually refers to a specific house, for instance. So that could be spruced up. But we believe that the legislation, even as it exists today, still works. The only relevant components of the EFA, which are the local required support and weighted pupil units, still exist in the state's current funding model. You could essentially scratch the word EFA or Education Finance Act. It's still relevant. And then also by a natural logical evolution, our districts have been including those other funding sources in the calculation. And that makes sense because they're still derived from taxable property located within Lawrence County. And a per pupil funding model is still the most fair and equitable and simplest method of allocating our local tax dollars. Now we're still hopeful that we can work with our neighbor district as well as our state and local leaders to update the legislation in a way that brings the model up to date, but also still retains that equitability of the model that we've enjoyed for the last 40 years and has been serving to benefit all of the students of Lawrence County, regardless of where they attend school. Does anyone have any questions about the funding model or why we do what we do?
So right now, Lawrence District 56 owes 55 amount of money. Or are you about to go into that?
We would contend that they do.
And is 56 saying no, we don't? I mean, is there a contention between our district and theirs about what's owed? And
Yes, that would be the case.
okay.
Their argument is that because the act is antiquated, I think is the word that they use, that it should just be scrapped in its entirety.
Oh, so they want to get rid of it completely.
That is the option that I believe they lean toward.
Wow.
So, Mr. Lala, so just for clarification, if from your perspective, the calculation is fair in the way that it currently exists, regardless of the terminology of the current law regarding the the Education Funding Act.
Sure, I would say that's the case. If you read the legislation itself, if you look at the nouns and rather than the adjectives, which is to say, if you look at local required support, it's still there. It's a number that's provided to us by the state. Each district has one. If you look at a weighted pupil unit, yes, it says that the legislation says as calculated or whatever in the EFA, but the current education funding model still has a weighted pupil unit component. And you know, in case anyone doesn't know what a weighted pupil unit is, a weighted pupil unit is just a factor that is applied to enrolled student numbers that add weighting for certain factors, whether it be a disability or whether it be a student from poverty, or a student that is engaged in career and technical education receives a higher rating. So a particular student, a regular gen ed student, is a 1.0 weighted pupil unit. A disabled student or a CATE student or a student from a poverty background would have a higher than a 1.0 weighting. So overall, our district has approximately 8,200 or so weighted pupil units, where we have about 5,600 or so actual students. And so that, and I think that in District 56, they're somewhere in the ballpark of around 4,200, so they're roughly half the size of our district. But yes, that was a long way to answer your question. Yes, I would say that the relevant factors, if you read the way that the calculation is done, which is all local tax dollars minus the amount for local required support divided by weighted pupil units, is still relevant. All those factors still exist, and I would still contend that an equal per pupil funding is extremely fair.
So in the scenario that if the Tax Equalization Act were no longer in existence, would that put, say, the Lawrence County Development Corporation and County Council, would that put them in a position of having to choose, are we going to put this in the lines of 56 or in the lines of 55?
We would hope that they would take that into consideration, because otherwise, if they concentrated in a specific area, then all of the tax dollars would fall into that area, regardless of whether that growth fueled student numbers. What we've seen is that economic growth in certain parts of the county have not necessarily driven students into that same area of the county. So, at this point, if a person works at a business in Gray Court, for instance, but they live in Clinton, that tax dollar is still going to follow that child to where they attend school. Any other questions? I don't know if I can entertain questions from the floor.
Any other questions from the board? Thank you, Mr. Lawless.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lawless. Also, we're thankful for members of the delegation who were able to be here tonight. Senator Vernon and Representative Jones, thank you all so much for coming. It is hard to believe that we're now at the end of November and that we've issued the second 9 weeks interim report last week. Schools have continued to work diligently on building their community, setting high expectations, focusing on data and high quality instruction, and improving student achievement for all students. We continue to utilize our school and district data to help inform decisions as we live out our theme of elevating our impact for every child, every chance, every day. We continue to focus on our goals of safety, positive school culture, high quality instruction, increased student achievement, effective communication, and family engagement. We continue to focus on continuous improvement, moving beyond limits, erasing gaps, and building upon the overall district growth that has been made each year. We remain committed to our goals and our mission of empowering and inspiring all to be educated and informed. American Education Week is an annual observance that celebrates the importance of education and recognizes the contributions of educators. The goal is to promote public awareness and appreciation for the value of education and to honor those who work in the field. We're truly grateful for the critical role our Lawrence 55 staff plays in shaping the future of our students and society as a whole. Thank you so much to our Lawrence 55 teachers, staff, and administrators. Our schools organize various activities and events during the week of November the 13th through the 17th to engage students, parents, and community members in celebrating and supporting education. Some of these activities included Substitute Day, where we recognized and showed appreciation for substitute teachers; Family Day, some schools invited parents to visit classes or to read to the class; Education Support Professionals Day, where we showed appreciation for all support staff; Food Nutrition Services provided muffins and juice in the car line to show appreciation for the support that we have for our parents. Some schools also invited community members in to read and to share information about their careers or their jobs. Although this is 1 week that is set aside, we really strive in Lawrence 55 to show appreciation for our parents, teachers, staff, and administrators, as well as our community all year. Kindness Week is also an annual observance that promotes acts of kindness and compassion towards others. Our district participated in Kindness Week, November the 12th through the 18th. Thank you so much to those students and teachers who sent cards to me and to others. I appreciate your commitment to spreading kindness in Lawrence 55. We are very excited that our Lawrence District High School Orchestra was selected to perform at the South Carolina School Boards Association Annual Convention in February. This serves as a testament to the hard work, dedication, and talent of the students and staff. Congratulations. We are also thrilled to announce that Lawrence County School District 55 has been named a finalist for the Districts of Distinction National Award. This national award is given to school districts that have demonstrated exceptional leadership, innovation, and success in education. This award highlights the work being done by school districts across the country. Our recognition is based on our LEAP initiative, which stands for Lawrence Education and Employment Alternative Pathways. We are honored to be named a finalist for this prestigious award, and the finalists and the winners will be announced and recognized in December. We're also excited to announce that Lawrence 55 applied for and has been awarded an innovation grant by the South Carolina Department of Education. The title of the project, Meeting Every Need. With the innovation grant, as we partner with Waterford Upstart, we will not only focus on building foundational skills for early childhood students to improve math and literacy, but also to prioritize family engagement. We believe that involving families in their child's education is crucial for their overall development and success. Through workshops, resources, and collaborations with parents and caregivers, we aim to create a strong support system that reinforces learning at home and ensures a holistic approach to education. This grant will serve our 4K CertEp students at Lawrence Elementary School, Ford Elementary School, and Gray Court Owens School. It is always a pleasure to meet with the Superintendent's Advisory Councils. There's a student group, support staff group, teacher group, with representation from the different schools. The purpose of the Superintendent's Advisory Councils is to provide a platform for open communication and collaboration. These councils serve as a forum for students, teachers, and support staff to voice their concerns, their opinions, to share their experiences, to provide valuable input on various aspects of education, safety, morale, school climate, recruitment and retention, things that are going well in the schools and in the district, and areas for improvement. These individuals engage in very candid and open conversations as we work together for continuous improvement in all of our schools. We held a Commitment to Commencement event at Lawrence District High School on October the 25th. This event was our third Countdown to Graduation celebration ceremony. The purpose of this event is for the freshman class to make a pledge to give their full effort for 4 years to commit to graduating as a member of the class of 2027. We want our freshman students to start planning and thinking about high school graduation. I emphasize to them that from the time they leave 8th grade, they have approximately 2 million minutes before high school graduation. Although that may seem like a lot of time, it's really not. We want our students to make every minute matter as they start planning and thinking about high school graduation. We're very excited that the work is finally complete on the new gym floors at Sanders Middle School and that students are able to utilize this space for gym classes, basketball games, and other activities. We're also happy about the completion of the railings in Lawrence District High School. We're continuing to work through priority items that were identified through our facilities and our safety studies. We're also continuing our Parent Academy sessions. Our next Parent Academy session will take place on Thursday, December the 7th at 6 p.m. This is a virtual session entitled Substance Use and Vaping, Dealing with the Dangers and the Warning Signs. You can find registration information on our website at www.lawrence55.org, or you can call our office at 864-984-3568. I invite parents, educators, and community members to join the session. As many of you are aware, we have engaged in a demographics and facilities study for a couple of years. We're currently at the stage of holding focus groups. Dr. Penland will share information regarding the focus group and our progress so far.
Good evening. Won't work now. Over the past couple of months, we have been meeting with different focus groups to discuss our facilities and demographic studies with the intention of gathering information to present to you in January to provide guidance and decision-making for our next steps in facilities. We have met with our local city and council members. We've invited our local LCDC, the chamber, and local mayors was one group that we met with. We've met with teachers of the year, support staff of the year, assistant principals, and we have scheduled to meet with the principals and a parent group in December. During these meetings, we share with them the purpose of our kind of focus group, the information about our facility needs study that was shared with the board several months ago, our demographic study that was looking at the growth in the area and what impact that would have on our schools, and the initial options that were provided by the architect to our district. When we go into our kind of discussion with them, we pose several different questions to them, including what is the quality of life in our area? What do they see that their peers and those that are around them, how are they dealing economically and socially in the community? And do we get a sense of anybody hurting financially? We also go into, are there any pain points related to schools in our community? From their perspective, we ask them, what are some of the challenges or difficulties that schools or our district are facing? We also ask, looking at the district, if we have to ask for a referendum, and if that's the route we go, how much do you think is too much, and what would the community be able to support? Do you believe all communities perceive equity in the facilities in each one of our zones? When it comes to improving schools, are there any other issues out there in the community that we should consider? And what steps do we need to communicate the need to those around us so that if we are starting to get that information out, what stakeholders and areas do we need to look at? And also, are there any topics that we haven't discussed that will influence their support in supporting our schools and our focus on those needs? So then we will also develop a survey that we'll push out based on the options and to collect data for you to review. And our goal is to present that to you in January so that you'll have the information for the next steps that we need to go in our facility study to look at the growth in our area. Do you have any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Penland. It's hard to believe that winter break is quickly approaching. Please note that December the 19th is a half-day. Students will be dismissed 3.5 hours early. Winter break will take place on December the 20th through January the 2nd. Schools and offices will be closed. There will be a professional development day on January the 3rd, 2024, but no school for students. January the 15th, Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. All schools and offices will be closed. At this time, I would like to ask Dr. Harris to come to share a report on reunification.
Thank you, Dr. Thomas, members of the board. Your agenda says reunification training. I want to report to you on a reunification training meeting that was held November 1st over in Ware Shoals. The organizer of this event was a guy named Eric Cox. Eric was the former district safety coordinator in Greenwood 51, Ware Shoals schools, and he did a great job getting this meeting together. We talking about finance tonight and how our districts are in contention about that, but in this case, on reunification, and I'll define that for you a little bit better in just a second, but on this topic, we had a great turnout of the entire county around an issue that relates to school safety. Representatives from our school district, from District 56, from Lawrence Academy, from the county charter schools, from the county and city law enforcement, first responders, the State Department of Education was there, Greenwood 51, of course, was there, and so all of these entities were represented, and I may have missed somebody there, but it was a conglomeration of people from all over the county who came together to talk about student safety. All three districts that were there were represented by their superintendents. Dr. Thomas was there for us, Dr. O'Shields from 56, and Dr. Sprouse from Greenwood 51. Reunification is when, if we have an emergency at a school, we have to relocate students either to a place on site and have them picked up, or we have to go off site to another facility and have them picked up from there. So we've never had something like that in Lawrence County, but if it was to happen, it would be a big undertaking. Reunification, again, parents have to come and pick their students up at whatever location we call them to. The three school districts, and this is where Eric really came in and I think has done a big service to all three districts. We have put together mobile response teams. We have had reunification teams in the district ready to go before now. But this is a response team that not only will respond to an emergency, our team in Lawrence 55, but also would respond to an emergency if it was in Greenwood 51, if it was in Lawrence 56, if it was Lawrence Academy, whoever it might be in the county, we would help respond to that and help them get through their reunification. So this is something that they will come to us and we will come to them. And I give credit to Eric Cox for putting this together and making this happen. We have purchased a trailer, an enclosed trailer, to put all of our supplies for reunification in, have it ready on the lot and ready to go at any time. And we've got that part in the district office right now. We just got that. All three districts use something called the Standard Reunification Method. That comes from the I Love You Guys Foundation. I don't know if you guys have heard of that, but the I Love You Guys Foundation puts out a great process for us to go through. And we've been through training in that several times through the years, so it's not something that has just come up. But we use that, everybody does. We also use every day in our school, also from the I Love You Guys Foundation, something called the Standard Response Protocol. So when we need our students to do something in school, if we need to hold them in a classroom, that's something that we get from I Love You Guys. If we need to do a secure situation or a lockdown or something like that, that terminology comes from the I Love You Guys Foundation and their Standard Response Protocol. So this is something that all districts, pretty much every district in South Carolina, has been through a good bit of training through this I Love You Guys Foundation for reunification and other things. The training gave us great insight into all parts of a successful reunification event and we will continue to have dialogue on this. Dr. Penland and I were talking today about getting our mobile response team together, having some training for that, and maybe going to some sites where we go. And if you want to know where our sites are right now, and this is in, we've talked through these things with law enforcement, with the city and the county in planning where we would go. In the northern part of the county, we would go to Pleasant Grove Baptist Church. It is a big facility. It could house Gray Court very easily. It could house our high school very easily, and it sets up very well for the reunification process. Here locally, Chestnut Ridge Baptist Church is one of our partners in this. Most of our schools would go there, and then out down toward Waterloo. Waterloo would be going to Laurel Hill Baptist Church if we had an off-site reunification. So again, kudos to Eric Cox putting this together. Thank you, Dr. Thomas, for being there for us, and we're very thankful for everybody that came together at Mount Gallagher Church that day for what was a very successful meeting.
Thank you, Dr. Harris. Any questions regarding the reunification training? We've been working diligently on updating our district strategic plan. The strategic plan serves as a roadmap that outlines the goals, objectives, and strategies for future development and improvement to achieve specific outcomes. Our priorities are instructional focus, recruitment, retention, and development of staff, facilities and fiscal responsibility, and partnering for student growth. We've shared one priority per meeting since August, and tonight we have a group to share information regarding the strategic plan, priority 3, facilities and fiscal responsibility.
Okay. Mr. Watson and Mr. Cotney and Mr. Lawless and myself worked through this part of the plan, and I'm going to go over with you real quick the strategic objectives for this. Our objectives are to implement and communicate a specific district facilities plan utilizing findings from the district's facilities study. Also to invest in strategic measures to ensure school safety and innovative, inviting, world-class learning environments. The third thing, to work collaboratively to determine funding mechanisms for facilities enhancements, to include the acquisition of funding for the creation of a CATE Center in Lawrence County School District 5556. Invest in human capital to enhance recruitment and retention of highly qualified staff. And number 5, to utilize sound and conservative fiscal management and oversight. Mr. Cotney, Mr. Watson are going to share with you that I'm going to come back, and then Mr. Lawless will finish up.
All right, so Lawrence County School District 55 will use resources effectively to provide safe schools with initiative learning environments to support student readiness for college and careers while maintaining a strong fiscal position. Utilize facility studies to identify needs. So what we're looking at is our level 1 and level 2 needs assessment based off our facilities plan, and working to see if we can take care of those in-house or if we need to outsource those to be contracted out. Prioritize safety needs. I think we do an awesome job. Our maintenance, and I'll speak a little bit on that, maintenance do a phenomenal job of prioritizing our safety needs and optimizing maintenance work using available data. We use a system called School Dudes that we can pull data from to look at to see the efficiency, the effectiveness, and the number of maintenance requests and set goals from our maintenance data.
Present on the area of school environment. We're focusing on investing in strategic measures to ensure school safety and innovative, inviting, world-class learning environments. Some examples of that would be the upgraded camera systems, the new LED lights, the innovative and efficient AC units that are being put in place in our schools. Also, one additional is the fob and controlled access points that we have to ensure our safety in our buildings. We also utilize data from the school safety audits to develop plans for school safety enhancements at the specific schools. I think Dr. Harris just spoke about the reunification collaboration with District 56. We also collaborate with our law enforcement as well as our first responders to ensure things like their access to our buildings when there's an emergency, ensuring that they have the outlay so that when they come in, they can get right to the area that they need. Also, our staff is trained on safety matters. Our administrators, along with District 56, generally go and we go through that I Love You Guys training. Then we come back and we share it with our staffs as well. Dr. Littlejohn mentioned the new training that we just had with the Say Something. That's another safety measure for our students, an opportunity for them to be able to, as well as our staff, to be able to report specific issues on a specific platform, and to continue to explore those grant opportunities for safety so that we can utilize the funds to undergird the financial pieces that we'll need to improve our safety in our schools.
One of the exciting things about this part of the strategic plan has to do with our Cates Center and what we hope to do in this county over the next several years with that. Our delegation, some of our delegation is here tonight, and these guys have been working hard to try to get the type of funding that we need to be able to build a facility. We've traveled around different parts of the state and looked at Cates Centers that other counties have, and it's a tremendous advantage for schools and districts and communities to have these things, and they're really something special to see. If you get an opportunity to visit a Cates Center that's just been built somewhere in the upstate, you need to go and look at that and see what we're talking about, so that you'll know just what kind of a big deal it can be for our county to have one. We're one of the few counties in the upstate, maybe the only community in the upstate county that does not have a Cates Center, and so we're looking forward to getting this. The process for this has already begun. We have acquired some state funding for some pre-planning that's going on right now. We're kind of in that stage, not close to building yet, because the bigger money that we need is still being secured by our delegation. This will not be tax money that we'll have to create. This will be coming out of money that already exists at the state level. We're hopeful for that, and we think that our delegation is working hard to make that happen. Our District 55 and 56 superintendents, we met just recently. They were both there, and we're meeting to collaborate on how to secure funding options for this, how to plan program offerings. What do we want to do? One of the exciting things would be that we're looking at things like having culinary arts in our schools. We're looking at programs like cosmetology, barbering, nails, things like that. The kids really would like an opportunity to go into and not have to travel far away to be able to do that. That and many other programs that are out there. We have a long list of CAPE programs that we hope to offer. We will be offering these things at Clinton High. They'll continue to offer some things. We'll continue to offer some things at Lawrence High. We have the CAM Center that we're in conjunction with Piedmont Tech that will continue to offer some things, and then we would have a new Cates Center to do that. This will be a long process. It's about 3.5 years out if we were able to start, but again, as soon as we get funding, and we're hopeful that we'll get it, that process will take another step forward. But again, a very exciting part about the strategic plan that really has already begun.
And as we mentioned earlier, our district wants to maintain a strong fiscal position, and we'll achieve that through sound fiscal practices and conservative planning. A major component of that is building and maintaining adequate cash balances to carry us through the months where tax collections are low, especially this time of year in the fall. And our most significant and readily available source of cash is represented in our general funds fund balance, which we build through conservative budgeting and operating within our means. That we also maintain our cash position by claiming our federal and grant revenues as quickly and as timely as possible. Those are generally paid on a reimbursement basis, which means you spend it before you get it. So you have to have that cushion to allow you to operate in that environment. In addition to bringing in as much revenue as quickly as we can and as much as we can, we have to look at how we spend our money to be sure that we're using our resources as intelligently as we possibly can. And that means coordinating the various sources of funds, be it state, federal, or local dollars, to make sure that we're using our restricted funds first. It also means looking for opportunities to save money wherever possible and whenever we can, and investing those savings into things that can make the biggest impact on our students, whether it be our staff, our buildings, and in our community. So I think that. Any questions?
Any questions for us?
Thank you, Dr. Harris, Mr. Lawless, Mr. Watson, and Mr. Cotney. At this time, Ms. Stephanie Davis will provide the Special Education Services report.
Good evening, Madam Superintendent, Madam Chair, board members.
Good evening.
I am the District 504 Coordinator within the Special Services Department. As you may or may not know, our department this year has been restructured, and we are honored to have several new members on our staff that help us encompass all areas of special services from elementary, Child Find, BabyNet to high school and thereafter. Ms. Laird could not be here tonight, but I am here to present her PowerPoint on her behalf. So our department, I don't know how to use this. Oh, there we go. Perfect. Our department's motto this year is moving forward. With the establishment of everyone new in our department, we have taken on the task of getting more involved in the schools, being seen. If you need something, call us. We want it to be a more personable experience with our students and our staff. So we are out there. We want to provide our community with students who are going to be productive citizens, regardless of their disability or handicapping condition. So our mission of the Special Education Services Department is to provide educational services to students with disabilities by implementing individualized interventions and instructions as students prepare to become productive members of our community. Aside from educational interventions and instructional practices, we provide audiological services, behavioral services, nursing services, occupational therapy, physical therapy, psychological counseling, speech, and vision services. Based on our Child Find count back in October, which affects our funding, as Mr. Lawless alluded to, we had 777 students identified with an IEP. An additional 127 students had a 504 accommodation plan. However, we do not get funding for those students. The classes that we serve are our STARS students. Those are typically our academic focus or resource students. Those programs are held throughout each school. We have our IDLES program, which is our individualized and differentiated opportunities for learning. These students may be in our what used to be termed your self-contained classes. Our reading, academic, and functional independence through structured education, our RAISE classes, those would also be referred to previously as a self-contained classroom. And then our career preparation and life skills. That class is housed at the high school. The biggest pride right this minute for that group is the print lab, which we got a grant to start operating. We are very fortunate to participate in Project Search along with Lawrence 56. Lauren Dean and Ms. Carolyn Short, our district transition coordinator, coordinate this program. Our students utilize skills that they've learned in this classroom, and then they do job training at the hospital. We partner with Prisma Health here in Lawrence. There are currently 4 students from Lawrence 55 and Lawrence 56 in this program. We are proud to say that 2 of our students, 2 Lawrence 55 students, are currently employed by Prisma at the hospital. Some of the other academic support systems that we use in the special education department, of course, is based on data from previous school years. We use Spider Learning at the high school level and the middle school levels, which is a computer-based program that structures lessons for students based on their own levels. And it's teacher-driven. You know, the teacher can drive that lesson and support the student where they are by identifying lessons that are specific to that content area. Of course, Project Read, we are always looking to, you know, increase our reading comprehension, our oral reading fluency for our students, just so that they can improve their overall academic health. Some trends that Ms. Laird identified in special education based on test scores. More students in grades 3 ELA are scoring at the meets expectations level. In grade 3 math, most growth of students moving at each level from does not meet expectations to exceeds expectations. Grades 4 and 5 ELA and math, more students are at the approaching expectations level. Grades 6 through 8 ELA, more students are at the approaches expectation and above levels, with 8th grade ELA showing the most growth of students moving at that level. Grades 6 through 8 math, there's been little to no growth in that area, so those are areas that we will be focusing on. And then, of course, our end of course exams for our high school students. Students scoring at a C or above has increased for Algebra 1, English 2, U.S. History. The biology was not addressed. And Ms. Laird put in some pictures of around the district of things that have been happening in our department. October is National Disability Employment Awareness Month. That we had a big program out at the Ridge. This is an excellent opportunity for members of the community to come together with SCDVR, with DDSN. You know, both county school districts participate in this program. Some other things happening. This is a small group instruction in core academic areas. This would be one of our academic focus classes. This is Ms. Thumati's high school class. These students are in a resource setting where they receive 90 minutes of instruction per day based on a specific learning disability or area of weakness in reading, written expression, or math. Mr. Van Zant's class at Lawrence Middle School worked with a local leading author, Lois Ruby, and once they finished reading that book, they were able to actually do some hands-on activities with her. And then Miss Lainey Craft out at Gray Court Owens, she was doing some small group assistance in subject areas. I don't know if you've ever had a chance to go out there and see Miss Craft, but she's really, really involved with her students, and that would be a good class for you to visit. And then the transition team at the high school hosted a chef employability event through our PAYS lab. Again, going back to needing a Kate Center, our students would benefit from that greatly, having that chef program. They like to cook. We have a kitchen in between our our career development classes at the high school. We do Raider Joe's out there. They've done lunches, baked potato lunches and such for the teachers. So having a program like that would be great for them. Thank y'all for your time. Do you have any questions or concerns for me about special education? Thank y'all.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. This completes the district updates portion of my report.
Thank you, Dr. Thomas. We'll move on to board operations. Ms. Renee Madden.
Madam Superintendent, pardon me, Madam Board Chair, board members, good evening. I am here to request an update to policy GBEBDA. The last revision to this policy, which is the criminal records check policy, was in 2019. The request is to update the policy to reflect a more comprehensive background check procedure. The major change is that we are adding an additional check performed by a national web-based screening service. This screening could include, but it is not limited to, a nationwide search of all federal, state, county, municipalities, Department of Corrections, State Central Criminal Repository, of course, the National Sex Offender Registry, Office of the Inspector General, Excluded Parties List System, and the Office of Foreign Assets and Control. It would also include a criminal history search of regions of residence and employment. Open arrest warrants and cases awaiting trial or charges for failure to appear would also be reported. Lastly, it would include all felony convictions, misdemeanor convictions, and related activity on record.
Thank you, Ms. Madden. And you're just presenting for first reading, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll move to Dr. Penland, who has another policy to present.
Good evening again. In your packet, you will find information about a law that the General Assembly passed establishing sexual extortion and aggravated felony extortion as criminal offenses, setting prison sentences for each, called the Gavins Law. This law amends South Carolina Code of Laws to add section 1615-430. One of the statutory requirements is for school districts to collaborate with the South Carolina Department of Education, SLED, and the Attorney General's Office to implement a policy to educate and notify students of the provisions of the new law. To satisfy this collaboration component on behalf of our member districts, the South Carolina School Boards Association facilitated the support of the attached model policies and the three named agencies. You will see in your packet you have policy GBEBE, which is Gavin's Law, Sexual Extortion for Staff, and JICFB, Gavin's Law, Sexual Extortion for Students. You'll see in both of these policies, they basically have definitions that are laid out by the law. You also have the felony issues and the aggravated felony for sexual extortion and the misdemeanor sexual extortion definitions. Those are going to be primarily for our law enforcement, and then you get into the sections that are primarily for us with the notification and the district level discipline. For the staff one, and then for the student one, you'll see notification, reporting, and district level discipline there also. So these policies are both were made available to us in October, and some districts have already gone ahead and implemented these, so that's why we were asking to waive second reading and go ahead and approve based on first reading. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, Dr. Penland. Does anyone have any questions regarding the policies presented? If we could, I do think we need to have a motion to waive the first reading. And if that's approved, then we can go ahead with a second reading with an additional board action. So in order to move forward, we would just need a motion to waive the first reading.
I'll make the motion to waive the first reading.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of waiving the first reading for these two policies, please raise your hand. That's unanimous. All right, now we do need to vote to for the second reading on these policies, so we'll need a motion for that as well.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Elders. Thank you, Ms. Kent. Any discussion? So we have a motion on the floor to approve policy JICFB and policy GBEBE. Please raise your hand if you approve. That's unanimous. Thank you,
Thank you.
Dr. Penland. Mr. Roberts with our synergistics report.
Good evening. I hope everybody had a great and a happy Thanksgiving as we look to get back to work and finish the rest of this school year off, or the December year. But the Center District report, the Lawrence County School District 55 rolling 12-month energy use intensity is 24.3%. So this Lawrence District 55 EUI shows a 16.6 overall decrease from October 22nd to October of 23. To put this in perspective, the Energy Star, which is a government agency attached to the EPA, shows the average energy use intensity for K through 12 schools is over 48.5%. Ours is 24.3, which is nearly half as much as the national average. So these are all really great things that we're doing. The program date to savings is $124,000, 687, or let me rephrase that, $124,687.83, which is an increase of over 10% for the month of October. So currently we are upgrading some outdated non-programmable thermostats, and these were the old slider thermostats that we have in quite a few of our schools, and we're upgrading those with programmable Wi-Fi remote thermostats, which will allow us to remotely access these thermostats to allow for scheduling, programming, for the heating and cooling. This will actually show us our current classroom conditions, such as the temperatures, the humidity readings, along with allowing the remote access for the temperature and the fan setting adjustments. And this will be very beneficial during all times, but especially during our unoccupied times and our extended breaks. So that's what we're looking forward to starting. Do we have any questions? No? Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts. Yes.
We skipped over something.
I did. Dr. Thomas just pointed that out. I scrolled past it, so I'm going to circle back to that right now. I apologize for that. I did skip over the 2023 South Carolina School Board Association Delegate Assembly discussion. Each of you received an email with all the resolutions that myself and Ms. Elders would be voting on at the Delegate Assembly this weekend. I really just wanted to bring this up if there's something that you have a strong feeling that you want to vote no on, or that you want to share or discuss. Now's the opportunity. You can do that, or you can certainly reach out to us individually if you have a strong voice on one of those resolutions. Is there anything that anyone would like to address?
Well, normally that's not the way we've handled that. What we voted to do was to give our delegates the authority to vote for District 55 vote.
That's exactly right. I just wanted to take the opportunity that if anyone wanted to provide your input, I just wanted to share the information so everyone would know the resolutions that we would be voting on while we're there. So it's just a matter of sharing the information if you wanted to provide any feedback. And having none, then we will move back into our agenda in the appropriate spot, and Mr. Wallace for our monthly financial report.
Lovely, okay. I think you all received a copy of the financial report for October of 23 in your packet. Our balance with the Treasurer's Office as of the end of October was $8,302,974. Our fiscal year-to-date general fund revenues for the first 4 months were $13,023,986, with expenditures for the same period of $15,433,224, for a negative difference of $2,409,238. Our tax collections for the month of October were $1,054,848. Does anyone have any questions about the October financial report?
You say the difference, did you say there was a negative?
Yes. I mean, it's typical in the fall. Our expenditures to date have exceeded our revenues. The tables ought to flip on that either November, December, and certainly by January.
Okay, I just asked the question because you have a negative symbol before.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I'll say, that's the difference because normally we would have a negative symbol before the dollar. Here, it doesn't have a negative symbol.
Well, the brackets is negative.
Yeah. Okay. That's it.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Lawless. Now we're to our public participation portion of the meeting. Individuals who submitted the required form for the public participation portion of the meeting are strongly encouraged to maintain appropriate decorum while addressing the board. Please remember that this is a meeting of a public school board, and children may either be in attendance or watching via live stream. Please use appropriate language reflecting the nature of the meeting and its audience. Pursuant to Board Policy BEDH, speakers may offer objective comments on school operations and programs that concern them. The board will not permit any public session, any expression of personal complaint about school personnel nor against any person connected with the school system. We had one individual to submit a public participation form, and that was Dr. Catherine Evans. Is she here tonight? Ms. Evans? Okay. Now that since we do not have a public participant tonight, we now will need a motion to move into executive session to receive legal advice regarding vendor contract services.
I'll make a motion to move executive session.
Thank you. Mr. Hughes?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Elders. Any discussion? All those in favor of moving to executive session? Any opposed? All right. 8:47, we'll reconvene in open session. There is no action to be taken on our executive session. So at this time, with no additional business on the agenda, we can adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
We're adjourned.
Amen.
Y'all have a good evening.